Welcome to La Louisiane, conversations brought to you by the official magazine of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. I'm here today with Jonathan Shirley, Programs and Operations Director at the Louisiana Entrepreneurship and Economic Development Center, also known as the LEED Center. Thanks for joining us, Jonathan.
Absolutely happy to be here, and I'm sorry we have such a long title. It gets in all of our way, really. I feel like we're not allowed to have an email signature. Just Jonathan is going to be fine. Otherwise, it's another 4 sentences. But happy to be here. A
good acronym, though.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is great for confusing people who think that we do leadership stuff.
Wow.
Which is also lots of fun. So.
Well, but we're here today, talking about something super exciting. I know you just opened up a new space. Affiliated with the LEED Center, but it has its own name, which is also a fun name, the REDII Works FabLab.
That's
so
right.
Tell us about it. What is this space?
So it's really about helping people move from, I have an idea, to let's make something happen. Because in the entrepreneurship space, this is off topic already. So like there's entrepreneurship and there's innovation. And so innovation, and a great way to think about it is, innovation is finding all kinds of ways to pile up wood for the winter time. Like, I can do this and I can do it this way and I can do it this way. Entrepreneurship is you got to light a match. Mm-hmm. At some point you need, because you can have piles of wood, but you can still freeze to death.
Right.
Until someone has to come along and light a match. And so this is more about the doing. And so can we take people and really push them into a reality where now it's a student who's we can kind of get into it more about how each level can be benefited by it, but whether it's students who can work on ideas or entrepreneurs who need a prototype or something, and it all comes from a grant that we were fortunate enough to get from USDA to really focus on rural entrepreneurship. And so we can kind of talk about how that blends together.
Yes.
But and so it's allowed us to create a space that's got, I think, 11 or 12 3D printers and a laser cutter and CNC machine and all the, all of the design software to go along with that, and put that in one space that not only can we have on campus, but also something that we can bring to rural communities.
That's amazing. So it's at the Light Center. It's sort of like a maker space-ish.
Yeah, very much maker spacious fabrication lab. And so Fab Lab is just a more fun.
I like it.
Fab Lab is more fun.
And so talking a little bit more about the grant, it's on campus, obviously, but it's to support rural communities and entrepreneurship. So how are you kind of going out there and reaching those communities?
Yeah. So we do kind of 2 avenues that we can go that route. And so one is a road show, which we've done 3 of them so far and have another 6 or so on the schedule throughout the summer and into the fall. And so a road show is just 4 hours. And we've been to Abbeville, we've been to Crowley, we've been to Opelousas so far. Still planning on Arnoldville and Ville Platte and 3 or 4 more that we're going to get over to. And so those are just sort of this, let's go over and see what's possible. We'll talk about entrepreneurship. We'll talk about online commerce marketing. We'll get into IP and how do you protect your ideas and what are the levels of that. And then we'll bring some of our 3D printers just to really expose people to what's possible, because really we want to get people into the idea of either they have an idea, or even if it's just sort of exposing them to the possibility of you can print in a rural community and sell online. And so you don't have to move. Like if you want to still live wherever you want to live, you don't have to go to the big city,
right.
to open up a business.
Right.
But you have to sell to people outside of your community. Because what's hard about those smaller communities is that if we're just passing around the same $20, that doesn't do anything. And so you have to get money from outside. But e-commerce allows you to do that. And so that's one route, that roadshow route. And then our first workshop is going to be in New Iberia next week, June 12th. June 2nd, 4th, and 5th. So a Tuesday, Thursday, Friday evening from 4:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. That's going to be in New Iberia at the Research Center, at the NIRC Research Center. And so that's 3-day program. And so now we're going to actually build stuff. So day 1, we'll talk about still more idea-based. How do you figure out if you've got a good idea? How do you found something online maybe that you think you could print and sell. Well, like, how does that work with licenses versus is anything open access? Is anything, what if you start tweaking something? Is it yours? Is it someone else's? Nothing. It's not complicated, but it is stuff you should talk about.
You should know before you jump in.
Yeah, you should know. And then how do you set up a Shopify site or something like that? Okay. And then, so that's sort of day one. And then day 2 and 3 is let's kind of go through a case study where we find something, build something, create something, print something. And if we were ready to go, we could go do that.
So it's very practical.
Much more hands-on.
Okay.
We want to show you that you can kind of get things going.
Right. And 3D printers, they're not new necessarily, but it seems like in their current iteration, they're much more accessible than they were, say, like when they first came out.
The accessibility is incredible. I mean, it's not nearly as expensive as it used to be. It's super easy to use. All of our printers utilize they're all from this Bamboo software, which, Bamboo has an app, and I can print from my phone right now. I can send something to one of the printers in the LEED Center. And so that can be done from anywhere. It's a lot easier. You've got a huge library of things you can choose from. I printed one of the favorite things that I printed recently is just a banana stand, and you can just hang your bananas, and if we know nothing else, right? There's always money in the banana stand. Yes. So that was, I don't know. So maybe it's stuff, again, because as we think about getting to all people anywhere, rural or not, sometimes it's to commercialize an idea, and sometimes it's, you just want to learn a new skill. I mean, and so we can't forget that that's also a really good outcome is you pick up this new skill, and maybe you take it and do something commercially, or maybe you just use it to improve your house because now you can hang your bananas and now they're not bruising. I mean, it really, it's a thing.
And the neat thing about a 3D printer is it's you have an idea, you have something on a computer screen, or you have something you've jotted down, but it's actually very a tangible thing. 100%. Even if it's a model, it's like you have something that you're holding that you
absolutely
can think about it in a different way.
And so you can immediately look at it and go, yeah, this isn't going to work the way I'd originally envisioned it. I need to move this over a little bit. I don't know. I didn't know why I thought it was that this size was right. It needs to be smaller. It doesn't need to be that big. So you can immediately get a real feel for that prototype, which is why you create a prototype, to really be able to see it. And with a 3D printer, prototyping becomes so much easier. You don't have to go and outsource it and pay $1,000 for some company to put something together for you. Well, now you can either do it at your house, you can come to us, and we can help you put something together. And then you have to decide, okay, so now what do I do with it? But at least you have more information than you had before. Right.
So you're kind of marrying those two concepts of you're helping people to create something and you're helping them to market it and sell it and all of that. So.
Yeah, I mean, so we take everything that we had already been doing on the entrepreneurship space, which is helping people with ideas or small businesses, or how do you run more efficiently and strategically, potentially how do you grow, and we're just marrying that now with, hey, what if I'm creating something either totally new or I'm creating something physical that I haven't created yet. I've been thinking about it, but I don't know what to do with it next, and business card holders or something like that. And so I think that's where we had done the legwork and the foundational work of being a trusted entrepreneurship space, and now we're just adding on this idea of hey, now you can print something here.
So with anything, of course, on our university campus, we obviously have students involved. So I'm so curious how students are incorporated into this space and into the work that you do.
I think it's difficult to not be excited about all of it, but man, I'm really excited about the student element. Partially because I'm fortunate to teach some entrepreneurship courses where we want students to create and sell and do stuff, and all my classes end up having a pop up at some point. So you're gonna have to sell something.
Yes.
And the immediate feedback that we've gotten from pockets of students is that, hey, these things exist on campus. It's not like we brought the first 3D printer to campus. But a lot of the times they're all attached to classes and class projects. Makes sense, understandable, absolutely. But they have less space to go and be totally creative. And so now this provides that avenue of, I have something, it doesn't really fall in line with the project that I'm doing in my, it's one thing if you're over in Fletcher and you're creating physical stuff all the time.
Right.
But if you're in journalism, if you're in the business college, there is no class project necessarily that is usually attached to create something physical.
Yes.
But if you are in mass communications and you have thought about journals and want to create this really cool Louisiana-based journal that's got a magnolia on it or something, you can now take it, go to the laser printer, and create it. And to have a space on campus where that can happen is really special. And then you're also allowing opportunities for different disciplines to kind of interact with each other, because no one owns it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's not the College of Business's space. It's not the College of the Arts space. It's not the sciences space. It's anyone's space. And so that by itself amplifies the opportunity for a business student and an engineering student or an art student to kind of bump into each other, and that's where cool stuff happens.
Right,
that's where you're able to kind of, I need this. I can't create. A business student who, hey, they've created the product and they maybe know a little bit about the marketing or the finances, but they know an app would be cool, but they have no idea where to start. Can bump into a computer science student who maybe has that knowledge but has less knowledge on, I don't know, how do I decide what I should charge? And so now those students can interact in a different way. In this space that's really for anyone. Doesn't matter.
And I know some of the students have had the chance to work with business owners and people with ideas, so they're kind of getting real world experience in another way too, right? Absolutely.
And that experience is really powerful for them to get to talk to business owners who are already up and running, but it's still different than create it yourself, sell it yourself.
Right.
It's on you now. That's just a different component.
Yes. And it's a fun space. I mean, I've had the chance to go there, and I feel like, it's different. It's in the Light Center. It's different from anywhere else on campus. It's nice and open. And and are there certain sort of, I know it's available to anyone, but do you have kind of certain times when you're welcoming students or welcoming the public?
Yeah,
or anything
for the summer especially, we're sticking to the traditional university schedule of 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Even on Friday, we've got a situation where we can stay past the 12:30. That we can have students to come in, or faculty or staff. That's another part of it, is that please don't think that whenever we're talking about campus involvement, we're only talking about students. I don't care. This is a beautiful space of where I get to say, I don't care, whatever. Just if you have an idea, I want you to be here and do something with that idea. That's the most important and critical piece. A cup holder, a coaster, something that you think would help you, and you think, hey, maybe there's an audience for this, or I can go sell it at a farmer's market. Let's figure out what that is. Anyway, so that 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. The biggest thing, they can just email us right now. The LEED Center at louisiana.edu is the best way to reach out and either schedule a time to visit. Scheduling time to visit is the best, easiest thing, because then we can show you what's there, get a chance to meet. We've got a couple graduate students for the summer, and then some student workers once the semester starts back up, who know what they're doing, because this is where I get excited. Yes. But I can show you how to push it from your phone to the printer.
Right.
Outside of that, that's about the extent of my knowledge. I'm hoping that Mike can change the filament for me today, because I got to finish printing something. But we've got people who can help. Oh, hey, I have this idea, and if you've already got it in a file, great. If you just have it a drawing, great. There's no wrong.
Right.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, well, is there a wrong way to get started? And the only wrong way to get started is to not start. That's the only wrong way. Do nothing. That's the worst idea. Take it and just get us a place to get going.
So really anyone from the university community, anyone from the Acadiana community,
Absolutely.
This is a space that is available to anyone, and that's really very exciting.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Before we go, is there anything else that you wanted to share, either about the work that you do with the LEED Center or about this Fab Lab in general?
Man, I think one of the things that I think would be, I just can't not mention, I guess, this aspect is that everything the only way we operate at the LEED Center is this head and heart philosophy. And so like I need people to understand that when you walk in, or you call, or you email, or whatever it is, however we get in touch, we start with the foundation that I care more about you than I care about your idea. And so I'm more attached to you. Like, how does this fit into what you want to do with your life? How does this push you along? And maybe it's a fun thing that you do, and that's all it does. Fine. Maybe it's I think this could turn into something. Great. And I will follow you however long you want to walk that path, because that's the most important thing. I mean, the head and heart sort of mindset comes from, this idea that, the greatest distance in the world is the distance between what you know in your head and believe in your heart. Like that 18 inches that exists in that space is everything. It's everything in the freshman classes that we teach. It's everything in the honors program that we do stuff with. It's everything that Scott and I do in the music entrepreneurship program. It's everything with any Accelerate program we do. It's figuring out, how do we bridge that gap? How do we walk that space? And how do we help other people do the same thing? And so this is just another avenue where we can do that. And I think it's important to realize that we attach to the person, not the idea, because the idea might not be right. But if you feel comfortable coming in because you know that people care about you at this space, then you're immediately more likely to be wrong. Like failure doesn't look the same. Failure looks different when you know that you're cared for and loved. Like failure is just part of the process at that point. And we want to really get to that space. And so I realize that has nothing to do with the Fab Lab, but it's so critical to how we operate.
Sort of, I guess in a way, like the 3D printer is sort of a metaphor for this, because it's like you're printing things that you want to iterate off of. You're not trying to make the first thing absolutely perfect,
because it's not going to be.
Right.
Like that's the point. That's the point is it's not perfect.
Yes.
But it's a lot closer than it was when it was just in your head.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And now we got it. Okay. Now we can manipulate it and mess with it and figure out something for it.
Yes, and I feel like people are really craving not only that sort of human interaction, that third space,
100%.
but also tangible objects, because we're so screen oriented, and I think we're seeing the pendulum go the other
shift
way.
a little bit.
Yes.
The only other thing I was thinking about was we're kicking around an idea to do more kind of maker competitions, and so I'll just throw it out there and then I'll ask for forgiveness later. So to kick off the semester, our plan is to take that first month of the semester, and have students compete in a designing dorm accessories.
Oh, that's fun.
And so, I think that'd be really cool, because like that can be anything, right? I mean, like it can be, I've printed stuff that you can like slide onto a table like this and hang your headphones. And so like it could be that. It could be, I've seen plenty of like cell phone kind of holders that you can connect to beds and stuff like that. But truly something that students could use right away. Like you're all moving in. It's a lot smaller than what you're used to.
Yes.
And so
the need is there.
I'm really excited to see. I know someone's going to come up with something crazy that would be like, oh, what a cool dorm accessory that I would have never thought of, but that they're going to take off. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jonathan.
Thank you.
It's been fun, and I can't wait to see what comes out of the Fab Lab.
Yeah, me too.
And thank you for listening to this conversation with La Louisiane, the official magazine of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette since 1989. Join us again next month for more conversations with members of our university community. You can listen to an archive of this interview by visiting louisiana.edu/magazine or by following La Louisiane on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. KRVS is listener-supported public radio for Acadiana, a service of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette.